So via our Visual Studio, we can connect to our DataMiner itself. Let's allow the connection. And from there, we can import our example protocol. Let's use the simple example, import it, and let's have a look what's inside this protocol. You can already identify the basic structures, which you already know. We have our parameters. So in our DIS3, we have our parameters here. We have our groups, triggers, action, and in case necessary, we have our timers. So the basic story we keep on telling is on the regular time, we would like to retrieve something. Well, in our use case, we're going to hit a button and we're going to send out that HTTP request and print whatever we receive. So this is the new part. That HTTP section is new. So let's have a look on this one. On our HTTP definition, we can see that we can define specific sessions. What is a session? Well, it will hold all the information that I require for my request. So in here, I'm going to, for instance, define what URL, what SOAP action I need to send out. I'm not going to define my IP. Remember, my IP address, where to send it to, is defined in my elements. So you can reuse the same protocol definition. Maybe it's the same application, maybe it's the same API for different equipments that you're going to use. Well, that URL, your request will stay the same, but you're going to send it to different sources. Another part that we have is the response itself. We've seen the status code in the example already. Well, I'm going to indicate what parameter will be used to fill in that value. In this example, I'm going to use parameter 100. Let's jump to parameter 100. It's a very simple textual indication, and it's going to be filled in. Let's jump to our DataMiner. You can see it's going to be filled in with the status code itself. What else do we have? Let's jump back to the session. We have our response. So it's very simple to define it. We're basically going to indicate this is the value of the status code, which will be, in my case, parameter 100. And whatever you receive, just put it in parameter 200. So this will be a textual parameter as well. Let's go to this one. And since we're going to print it on screen, we will make it available. Now, in reality, you will not just print the massive response that you receive, you're going to process it. And for this, we're going to use quick actions. We will not cover this in this session, but coming up videos, have a look in there, and you will see how to process this. There are also various articles on Dojo that you can use to see how to process specific parts, like JSON response. How do I process this in my quick action? Just a small recap, quick actions are triggered on change of a parameter. So as soon as I receive my response itself, my parameter 200 will have a change in case it actually changes. And then I will process it, and maybe I'm going to distribute that information into different tables, standalone parameters, whatever you want to do with this. So for now, we're going to focus on setting up that connection. Up on the stage, I have defined my session, but I'm not yet doing anything with it. Remember, the basic principle was on a regular time, I would like to do something, so I had a timer. My to-do list was a group. What I wanted to do could be, for instance, an action. I'm going to do something. I'm going to pull information, all depending on what connection I'm going to use. It might differ. In this case, I'm going to pull information over HTTP, so I will have my session. The session will be defined in my to-do list, which is my group. Let's jump to the group. You will find here my session. Of course, you can add multiple sessions in here. It's a to-do list, so you can have multiple to-dos in here. The group, in this case, is linked to an action. Why? Because we want to execute it on demand. So let's jump to the action. The action will make sure that the group gets executed when, well, as soon as I hit the button to send out the request. So I have a trigger on change of my button parameter. Let's go to the button itself so you can see it as well. This is my button send request. When I hit this, as soon as there is a change, I will run an action number 3. What is this action? We'll move this to the queue. We'll see this in a bit on what's happening behind the scene. Basically, I'm saying make sure that to-do list will be created, and I'm going to execute the session 1. As soon as I head to that to-do list, I will execute session 1. What's inside session 1? Well, all the information that is required to create that API call.